Dr. Alan Wright adjusted his tie for the 5th time and took a deep breath. Today was the most important day in human history. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, aliens had not only made contact but invited Earth to join something called the Galactic Council. As NASA's senior xenobiologist, Alan never actually expected to meet an alien in his lifetime. Now he was about to meet dozens of different species. "Stop fidgeting," Captain Samantha Wells whispered, beside him. Her military posture was perfect, not a wrinkle in her formal diplomatic uniform. "You're making me nervous." "I'm making you nervous?" "There's a spaceship the size of Manhattan hovering over New York, and I'm making you nervous?" Alan whispered back. The United Nations General Assembly Hall had been transformed for this historic occasion. World leaders sat in the front rows, followed by scientists, military officials, and various experts chosen to represent humanity. Alan and Samantha were positioned near the front, as they would be part of the small team meeting directly with the alien representatives. "Remember the briefing," Samantha said quietly. "No sudden movements, follow all protocols, and whatever you do, don't make jokes. Several species consider humor a sign of mental illness." Alan nodded. "No jokes." "Got it." A hush fell over the crowd as the main doors opened. 6 beings of different shapes, sizes, and colors entered the hall. The lead alien walked on 2 legs but had blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Its head was slightly larger than a human's, with 4 small eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. It wore elaborate robes covered in what appeared to be living gems that changed color with each movement. Behind this leader came aliens that defied easy description. One floated above the ground in what looked like a personal atmosphere bubble. Another moved on 6 legs with a body resembling a giant mantis. The diversity was stunning. "Greetings, people of Earth," the blue-skinned alien spoke in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zixtel of the Arcturian Confederation and representative to the Galactic Council. Today marks your species' formal introduction to the galactic community." The ambassador made a complex gesture with its 4-fingered hands. "We have been observing your civilization for some time. While you are still quite primitive by council standards, your rapid development and unique attributes have earned you consideration for provisional observer status." Several people in the audience shifted uncomfortably at being called primitive, but no one dared interrupt. "I will now perform the sacred greeting of new species, a tradition dating back 12,000 of your years," Zixtal announced. The ambassador began walking down the 3 steps to the floor level where a ceremonial table had been set up. Earth officials had been instructed to prepare a traditional human food for the ceremony. They had chosen a large, ornate cake with "Welcome to Earth," written in 50 different human languages using edible gold leaf. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Ambassador Zixtal's ceremonial robe caught under its foot. The dignified alien stumbled, arms flailing wildly, its trajectory aimed directly at the ceremonial cake. "Oh no," Alan breathed. With a spectacular splash, the esteemed ambassador face-planted into the cake. Blue arms flailed, sending chunks of frosting flying in all directions. Several globs hit world leaders in the front row. The hall went deadly. Silent Captain Samantha Wells, trained for crisis management, rushed forward to help. "Ambassador, please allow me to assist." As she reached for the alien's arm, her hand brushed against one of the living gems on its robe. The gem flashed bright red and emitted a high-pitched whine. Suddenly, the ambassador's entire ceremonial outfit inflated like a life jacket, lifting the frosting-covered alien several inches off the ground. "The defensive systems. Don't touch the gems," shouted one of the other aliens in panic. But it was too late. The robe began spinning Zixtal around like a bizarre balloon, spraying cake and frosting across the assembly. A glob hit the president of France directly in the face. Alan, desperate to diffuse the tension, stepped forward. "Well, at least we know our cake passes the faceplant test. My kid does the same thing at birthday parties." His words echoed in the complete silence of the hall. The mantis-like alien's mandibles clicked rapidly, which Alan would later learn was their version of gasping in shock. Did the human just compare our esteemed ambassador to an undeveloped offspring engaging in feeding rituals? The floating alien asked, its bubble pulsing with what appeared to be indignation. No, Alan tried to explain, but Ambassador Zixtal, now upright but covered in frosting, raised a hand. In 12,000 years of first contact ceremonies, this is unprecedented, the ambassador said. Blue face now partially covered in white frosting and gold leaf that spelled out, "Come to," across its forehead. Commander Frank Miller, the military liaison, stepped forward with a towel. Please accept our sincere apologies, Ambassador. This is not how we intended. Your species was described as unpredictable, Zixtal interrupted, taking the towel. The reports were clearly understated. What happened next surprised everyone. As the ambassador wiped frosting from its face, a strange sound emerged. It started as a low rumble, then grew into something that sounded almost like laughter. In all my cycles of diplomatic service, Zixtal said between what were definitely chuckles, no species has ever begun relations by covering me in protein-based celebratory sustenance. The tension in the room dropped slightly. The Arcturians appreciate novelty above all else, the ambassador continued, still wiping cake from its face. And this is certainly novel. One of the other aliens, the one with 6 limbs, stepped forward. This incident has been transmitted across all Council communication channels. It is now the most viewed event in recent Council history. Alan's stomach sank. You mean, across the galaxy? Aliens are watching us cover their ambassador in cake? Precisely, the 6-limbed alien confirmed. What you would call viral content. Samantha closed her eyes briefly. So our first impression to the galactic community is a cake disaster. Ambassador Zixtal had finally cleaned most of the frosting from its face. Indeed, and for this reason, the Council will remember this meeting for generations. Is that good? Alan ventured. It is memorable, Zixtal replied. In galactic politics, being memorable has value. Most species are forgotten immediately. You, however, have made an impression. The ambassador straightened its still-stained robes. Humanity will be granted provisional observer status to the Council as planned. Your representatives may accompany us back to Council headquarters for orientation. Even after this? Samantha asked in disbelief. Especially after this, Zixtal replied. The Council has many dignified, proper, boring species. What it lacks are species who can, shake things up. As the initial meeting wrapped up, Alan found himself named to the Earth delegation that would travel to the Council headquarters. Before leaving the hall, Ambassador Zixtal approached him privately. Your attempt at humor during the incident, the alien said quietly. It was inappropriate by Council standards. I'm very sorry, Alan began. However, the ambassador continued, I found it interesting. Perhaps there is more to human humor than our initial research suggested. With that cryptic comment, the ambassador rejoined its delegation, leaving Alan to wonder if he had just damaged Earth's galactic reputation or somehow accidentally helped it. The next day, as the human delegation prepared to board the alien ship, they discovered that the Council media had given Earth a new nickname, the Cake Planet. It wasn't the dignified first contact they had hoped for, but it was certainly memorable. Humanity's chaotic entry to galactic politics had begun. 6 months had passed since the infamous cake incident. The massive Galactic Council headquarters space station hung like a glittering jewel against the backdrop of a neutral star system, far from any one species' home territory. Ambassador. Lisa Chen gazed through the viewport as their shuttle approached the enormous structure shaped like a wheel with dozens of spokes. It's even bigger than I imagined, she said quietly. Dr. Alan Wright nodded beside her. The orientation material said it houses representatives from over 300 species, and we're the newest and most primitive, Lisa added with a sigh. After the first contact disaster, Earth governments had scrambled to appoint a professional diplomat to represent humanity. Lisa had decades of experience in international relations, but nothing had prepared her for interstellar diplomacy. Captain Samantha Wells, now serving as security chief for the human delegation, pointed toward the station. Look at the docking bays. Each section is built for different environments and gravity needs. Their shuttle was directed to a section labeled Class M Compatible Species in both alien symbols and English. As they docked, a tall, thin alien with purple skin and elongated limbs waited for them. "Welcome to Council Station," it said in a melodic voice. "I am Junior Facilitator Krill. I will show you to your assigned quarters in the Provisional Species section." Eric Jones, a young diplomatic aide with a reputation for speaking without thinking, whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "They've put us in the kiddie pool." Lisa shot him a warning look as Krill led them through corridors filled with aliens of all descriptions. Some floated, others crawled, and a few appeared to phase in and out of visibility. The humans tried not to stare but failed miserably. "Wow, check out that one. It looks like a walking chandelier," Eric whispered, pointing at a crystalline being. "Mr. Jones," Lisa hissed, "please maintain diplomatic decorum." Their quarters were small but comfortable, adapted to human environmental needs. Krill informed them that the formal application ceremony would begin in 3 hours. "Your cultural package must be submitted before the ceremony," the alien added. "This is how the Council evaluates species' contributions to galactic civilization." Lisa nodded. "We've prepared a comprehensive overview of human art, music, literature, and scientific achievements." After Krill left, the human delegation gathered to review their presentation one last time. The package had been carefully curated by Earth's finest minds to present humanity in the best possible light. "Captain Wells, please ensure this data chip is delivered to the Council archivists," Lisa said, handing over a small device. "Yes, Ambassador," Samantha replied, taking the chip. Unfortunately, in the shuffle of organizing their quarters, the chip was placed next to Eric's personal entertainment device, which contained his complete collection of human comedy, memes, and viral videos. When Samantha reached for the cultural package, she accidentally took Eric's device instead. 3 hours later, the human delegation stood in the great chamber of the council. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in tiered seating around a central platform. High Counselor Erickson, a tall insectoid being known for strict adherence to protocol, presided over the session. "Humans of Earth," the High Counselor began, "you stand before the Galactic Council to present your application for observer status. We will now review your cultural package to assess your civilization's contributions." A massive screen descended from the ceiling. Lisa stood proudly, ready to narrate the carefully selected highlights of human achievement. Instead, the screen lit up with a video of a man getting hit in the groin with a football, while a child laughed hysterically in the background. Lisa's mouth fell open in horror. The video changed to a compilation of cats knocking things off tables, then to humans falling in various comical ways, then to a collection of dad jokes with accompanying animations. "What is happening?" Lisa whispered frantically. Eric turned pale. "Oh no, that's my personal collection." The great chamber erupted in a cacophony of reactions. Some aliens made sounds that might have been laughter, others emitted high-pitched whistles of alarm, and several representatives immediately left their seats in apparent disgust. "Turn it off," Lisa ordered, but the council system was already cycling through thousands of human comedy files. High Counselor Verkson rose to full height, body vibrating with what appeared to be anger. "Is this how humans represent their culture? With imagery of physical pain and discomfort for entertainment?" Before Lisa could respond, something unexpected happened. A blue-skinned Arcturian, Ambassador Zixtal from the First Contact mission, made a sound that was unmistakably laughter. "The complexity of their humor is fascinating," Zixtal said. "They find joy in the unexpected and the absurd." A small, fuzzy alien with 8 eyes joined in. "I agree. This dad joke concept is particularly interesting. Using language imprecision for amusement shows advanced linguistic capabilities." The chamber divided into clear factions. One group found human humor primitive and offensive, while the other found it fresh and intriguing. Lisa stepped forward. "Honorable Council, there has been a mistake. This is not our formal cultural submission." "Then what is it?" demanded Verkson. It's entertainment, how humans amuse ourselves and each other. The High Counselor's antennae twitched in irritation. You find pain and misfortune amusing? A soft-spoken alien with glowing skin interjected. Actually, I believe it's the unexpected nature of these events that humans find amusing, not the pain itself. It's about pattern breaking and surprise. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued that humanity's sense of humor showed a disturbing lack of empathy. Others countered that it demonstrated advanced emotional intelligence and the ability to find joy in life's mishaps. Finally, High Counselor Verkson called for order. This incident is unprecedented. I move that humans be removed from Council. Space immediately. Ambassador Zixtal stood. I disagree. What we've witnessed today is not a failure but a unique perspective. Not all species process emotions the same way. Humans use humor as a coping mechanism and social bonding tool. They are disruptive, Vierexen insisted. They are interesting, Zixtal countered, and the Council has become stagnant with predictability. After much debate, the Council voted narrowly to allow humans to remain, but under strict behavioral protocols. The human delegation was given a detailed list of behaviors to avoid and assigned monitors to ensure compliance. As they left the Great Chamber, Ambassador Lisa Chen was torn between relief and embarrassment. I'm so sorry, Eric said for the 100th time. The important thing is we're still here, Lisa replied wearily. But from now on, everything we do must be carefully controlled. No more surprises. Dr. Alan Wright wasn't so sure. As they walked back to their quarters, he noticed several junior representatives from different species watching them, with what appeared to be fascination, rather than disgust. I don't think we can put the genie back in the bottle, he said quietly, to Samantha. Like it or not, human humor has made its galactic debut, and divided the Council in the process, she replied. What none of them realized yet was that this division would only grow deeper as more aliens were exposed to human culture. The seeds of the human humor controversy had been planted, and they would soon grow into something no one could have predicted. 1 year had passed since the cultural package disaster. Despite the restrictions placed on them, the human presence on the Galactic Council station had grown. What began as a small diplomatic mission now included scientists, cultural experts, and support staff. The humans had been assigned an entire section of the station, quickly nicknamed the Human Quarter. Jack Peterson wiped sweat from his brow as he stirred a large pot in the kitchen of his restaurant. Earth Eats. As the first human chef on the station, he had become something of a celebrity. Order up. 1 plate of spaghetti for the Rigelian. Diplomat. He called out to his assistant, a young woman named Kim who had joined the station staff 3 months ago. Coming right up, Kim replied, grabbing the plate. The restaurant was packed as usual. Aliens from dozens of species crowded the tables, eager to try authentic human cuisine. Jack had discovered something fascinating shortly after opening. Certain combinations of earth spices caused involuntary laughter in some alien species. His spicy chicken wings had become famous for making Arcturians giggle uncontrollably. At a corner table, Security Chief Grax, a hulking reptilian alien with gray scales and a permanent scowl, watched the proceedings with suspicion. He had been assigned to monitor human activities and ensure they followed Council regulations. So far, he had issued 17 warnings about excessive noise levels and inappropriate public displays of amusement. More water, Chief Grax? Jack asked, approaching with a pitcher. Your establishment exceeds acceptable occupancy levels, Grax replied. Again, Jack smiled. People like our food. Nothing in the regulations against being popular. Before Grax could respond, the door opened and a group of junior diplomats from various species entered. Among them was Counselor Devore, a tall, thin alien from the Valaxian species, known throughout the galaxy for their serious, logical approach to everything. Valaxians considered emotional displays highly inappropriate. Counselor Devore, Jack said with surprise. Welcome to Earth Eats. Devore looked around nervously. I am here merely to observe human cultural practices. for diplomatic research. Of course, Jack replied with a knowing smile. May I suggest the spicy wings? They're very educational. 2 sections away in a repurposed storage area, Kate Martinez was preparing for the evening's entertainment. As the unofficial entertainment officer for the human delegation, she had turned the space into the Laugh Lounge, a venue for comedy nights, movie showings, and music performances. Sound check, please, she called to her assistant. Kate had discovered that despite the official disapproval of human humor, many aliens were secretly fascinated by it. What began as small gatherings of humans sharing jokes had grown into regular events that attracted curious aliens wanting to experience this forbidden entertainment. Tonight's going to be packed, her assistant said. Word got out that you're doing a stand-up routine about council meetings. Kate nodded. Just remember, if Security Chief Grax shows up, it becomes a cultural information session. The assistant finished. Got it. Meanwhile, Ambassador Lisa Chen sat in her office reviewing reports. The past year had been a delicate balancing act. On one hand, humans were constantly in trouble for breaking protocol with their humor and casual behavior. On the other hand, Earth's trade agreements with various species had flourished as aliens became interested in human culture. Her door chimed and Captain Samantha Wells entered. Ambassador, we might have a situation. Lisa sighed. What now? Did someone tell a joke during a council session again? Worse, Samantha replied. Security Chief Grax is planning a raid on Kate's comedy night. Apparently he received an anonymous tip that high-ranking council members have been attending in disguise. Lisa's eyes widened. If that's true, it could cause a major diplomatic incident. Some species would consider it corruption of their officials. Should we shut it down? Samantha asked. Lisa thought for a moment. No. The more they try to suppress human culture, the more interesting we become. Let's go there ourselves instead. That evening, the Laugh Lounge was packed beyond capacity. Kate had just finished her opening jokes when the door slid open. The audience fell silent as Ambassador Lisa Chen and Captain Wells entered, followed by Security Chief Grax. This gathering violates Regulation 47B, Grax announced. No unauthorized cultural exchanges. Before Lisa could intervene, another door opened and 3 figures in hooded cloaks entered. One of them tripped on the hem of their cloak, stumbled forward, and the hood fell back to reveal Counselor DeVore's distinctive features. The room went silent. DeVore, a high-ranking member of one of the most serious species in the galaxy, caught attending a human comedy night. Counselor DeVore, Grax said in shock. This is unexpected. DeVore straightened to full height. I am here on official business. At a comedy show? Grax asked skeptically. For a moment it seemed DeVore would continue the denial. Then, unexpectedly, the alien's shoulders slumped. Very well, I admit it. I find human humor fascinating. It is so different from our logical approach to communication. The concept of finding joy in the unexpected is revolutionary to my people. The other 2 cloaked figures reluctantly revealed themselves. A junior ambassador from the Proxima system and a cultural attaché from the Centauri Confederation. We are not the only ones, DeVore admitted. Many council members have been studying human humor in secret. Grax looked bewildered. But council regulations clearly state... Perhaps, Lisa interrupted smoothly. The regulations need updating. After all, cultural exchange is supposedly one of the foundations of the Galactic Council. The next day, an emergency council session was called to address what was now being called the human humor contamination. High Counselor Verxen led the faction demanding stricter controls on human activities. Their influence spreads like a virus, Verxen insisted. Now even Valaxians are telling jokes. Ambassador Zixtal, who had become something of an advocate for humans, countered. Perhaps that is not a bad thing. The Council has existed for thousands of years with little cultural evolution. Humans bring a fresh perspective. Ambassador Lisa Chen was given 5 minutes to address the Council. She stepped to the center of the chamber and looked around at the hundreds of alien faces. Honorable members of the Council, laughter is not a disease to be contained. It is medicine for the soul. Throughout human history, humor has helped us survive our darkest times. It builds bonds between strangers and eases tensions between enemies. If that is our contribution to galactic society, we are proud of it. The council remained divided, but in the end they voted to allow the human quarter to continue operating under observation. As they left the chamber, Devore approached Lisa. "Your words were wise, Ambassador. I have begun teaching my own children about humor. It is challenging for our species, but rewarding." Lisa smiled. "That's how all the best things begin, Counselor, as challenges." Back in the human quarter, life continued. Jack's restaurant thrived, Kate's comedy nights grew more popular, and slowly, laughter began to echo through previously silent corridors of the Galactic Council station. 3 years had passed since humanity's introduction to the Galactic Council. Earth now had a small but growing fleet of spaceships built with technology shared by friendly alien species. Grand Admiral Scott Wilson stood on the bridge of the flagship Earth vessel Unity, looking at the tactical display with concern. "Another border incident," he said to his second-in-command. "That's the third this month." The display showed the territory of the Zoraxian Empire, an aggressive species that had refused to join the Galactic Council. For the past 6 months, Zoraxian ships had been testing Council borders, sometimes even firing on patrol vessels. "The Council's diplomatic team has failed to make any progress," his officer reported. "The Zoraxians refuse all communication attempts." Admiral Wilson nodded. "Then it's time we tried a different approach." On the Galactic Council station, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from all member species gathered as reports of Zoraxian aggression filled the screens. "Their fleet movements suggest preparation for a full-scale invasion," a military advisor explained. "Our intelligence indicates they may attack within days." High Counselor Verkson's voice cut through the worried murmurs. "We must mobilize our combined fleets immediately." Ambassador Lisa Chen, now a respected voice on the council, stood up. "With respect, High Counselor, military action should be our last resort. We still don't fully understand Zoraxian motivation." "They are warmongers," another counselor shouted. "Their entire culture is built around conquest." "Perhaps," Lisa replied, "but there must be a reason they've chosen this moment to become aggressive." Counselor Zixtal, who had become one of humanity's strongest allies, raised a hand. "I suggest we try something unconventional. In these 3 years, humans have shown remarkable ability to disrupt normal patterns of behavior. Perhaps that's exactly what we need now." Berkson's antennae twitched with irritation. "You cannot be suggesting we use human humor against a military threat." "Not exactly," Zixtal replied. "But perhaps their unconventional thinking could provide a solution where our traditional approaches have failed." After heated debate, the council narrowly voted to allow humans to attempt a peaceful solution before military action. They had 48 hours. In a small conference room, Lisa gathered a team including Admiral Wilson, Kate Martinez, Jack Peterson, and Dr. Alan Wright, who had become the leading expert on interspecies communication. "The Zoraxians are the most humorless species we've encountered," Alan explained, showing images of the tall, gray-skinned aliens with their rigid posture and severe facial features. "Their society is extremely hierarchical, with High Supreme, Leader Gorvin at the top. No one dares question his authority. So a direct joke attack probably won't work," Jack said with a smile. Kate leaned forward. "Maybe not jokes, but what about ridicule? In human history, tyrants hate being laughed at because it undermines their authority." "The Zoraxians control all their internal communications," Admiral Wilson pointed out. "How would we even reach their population?" Kate grinned. "Leave that to me." Over the next 24 hours, Kate led a small team that included the best computer experts from Earth and several technically minded aliens. They worked tirelessly to hack into the Zoraxian communication network. "Their security is tough," one expert complained, "but they've never faced Earth hackers before." Finally, they broke through. Kate had prepared something special. Carefully edited videos of High Supreme Leader Gorvin with silly sound effects added to his speeches. In one clip, his serious declaration of war was followed by a cartoon squeak. In another, His stern face was subtly altered to make him appear to be wearing makeup. "Are we sure this won't just make them angrier?" Lisa asked with concern. "It's a calculated risk," Admiral Wilson admitted. "But right now, they respect only fear and strength. We need to change the game." They launched the altered videos across the Zoraxian network. For several hours, nothing happened. Then reports began coming in of confusion throughout the Zoraxian fleet. Some ships were breaking formation. Communication chatter indicated widespread disorder. "It's working," Alan said in amazement. "Their rigid command structure doesn't know how to handle ridicule of their leader." Suddenly, a priority message came through. The Zoraxians were requesting direct communication, with the humans specifically. In the Council's Grand Communication Chamber, a massive screen showed the stern face of High Supreme Leader Gorvan. His gray skin was pulled tight across sharp, facial bones, and his eyes blazed with what might have been anger. "You dare to mock me?" he growled. Ambassador Lisa Chen stepped forward. "Supreme Leader Gorvan, we apologize for any offense. We merely wish to open a dialogue." "By making me appear foolish to my people?" he demanded. "Sometimes," Lisa replied calmly. "It takes something unexpected to break through barriers. We noticed your people have no concept of humor in your culture. Perhaps that's why communication has been so difficult." Gorvan's eyes narrowed. "Humor is weakness. It undermines authority and discipline." "Actually," Lisa countered, "humor is strength. It allows us to bond, to release tension, and to see things from new perspectives." As she spoke, she nodded subtly to Kate, who activated a small program. On the screen behind Gorvan, unnoticed by him but visible to his staff in the background, a small animated creature began mimicking his movements. One of the Zoraxian officers in the background made a strange sound, something between a cough and a choke. Gorvan whirled around, but Kate quickly removed the animation. "What was that sound?" Gorvan demanded of his officer. "Nothing, Supreme Leader," the officer replied stiffly. Lisa seized the moment. That, Supreme Leader, was the beginning of laughter, something your people have been denied. "Enough," Gorvan shouted, but there was uncertainty in his voice. Lisa took a chance. "Supreme Leader, may I tell you a joke? Just one. If you find no value in it, we will proceed to traditional diplomatic channels." After a long pause, Gorvan nodded once. Lisa told a simple joke about two leaders meeting on a neutral planet. It wasn't particularly funny by human standards, but it contained a clever wordplay that translated well into the Zoraxian language. For a moment, Gorvan's face remained completely still. Then, the corner of his mouth twitched. A strange sound emerged from his throat. His eyes widened in shock at his own reaction. "What is happening to me?" he demanded. "You're experiencing humor, Supreme Leader," Lisa explained gently. "It's a natural response." Behind him, several officers were now struggling to maintain their composure. "This is forbidden," Gorvan said, but with less conviction. "Only because you've forbidden it," Lisa replied. "But imagine a society where people can release tension through laughter instead of war." The conversation lasted for hours. By the end, Gorvan had agreed to face-to-face meetings on the council station. It wasn't peace yet, but it was the beginning of real communication. As the transmission ended, the council chamber erupted in relieved conversation. "I cannot believe that worked," High Counselor Verkson admitted. Admiral Wilson smiled. "Sometimes the best defense isn't a bigger weapon, but an unexpected approach." As word spread throughout the station, humans were suddenly being viewed in a new light. Their unpredictable, sometimes chaotic approach to diplomacy had prevented a war that conventional methods couldn't stop. "Do you think they'll actually embrace humor?" Alan asked Lisa as they left the chamber. "I don't know," she replied. "But they've had their first taste of it. And in my experience, laughter is pretty addictive." 5 years had passed since Earth's first contact with the Galactic Council. The Himalayan mountains provided a stunning backdrop for the newly constructed Galactic Embassy on Earth. Today, the massive structure bustled with activity as the first Galactic Comedy Festival prepared to open. President Maria Johnson stood at the window of her office, watching as ships from dozens of alien worlds descended through Earth's atmosphere. Each one carried representatives eager to participate in what had become the most anticipated cultural event in the galaxy. "Madam President, it's time," an aide announced from the doorway. Maria nodded and smoothed her formal jacket. When she had been elected 3 years ago, no one could have predicted that her first major international event would involve aliens telling jokes. The main hall of the embassy had been transformed into a grand auditorium. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the seats. In the front row sat the most important dignitaries: Grand Counselor Vexalia, newly elected leader of the Galactic Council; Ambassador Zixtal, now Earth's strongest ally; and most surprisingly, Ambassador Gorvan, formerly the feared supreme leader of the Zoraxians. President Johnson took the stage to thunderous applause. Distinguished visitors, fellow Earthlings, and friends from across the stars, she began. 5 years ago, we made first contact with a frosting-covered ambassador and a ruined cake. A wave of sounds that translated roughly to laughter rippled through the audience. Ambassador Zixtal touched the spot on his forehead where "Come to" had once been written in frosting. Today we gather not just as diplomatic partners, but as friends brought together by something uniquely powerful: our shared ability to laugh. The president continued. Humor has proven to be more than entertainment. It has been a bridge between vastly different cultures, a tool for peace, and a way to see ourselves from new perspectives. She gestured toward Ambassador Gorvan. Just 2 years ago, we stood on the brink of war with the Zoraxian Empire. Today, former Supreme Leader Gorvan sits among us as a friend and ally. Gorvan stood and gave a formal bow. His normally stern face broke into what had become his signature half-smile, still awkward but genuine. "My people had no word for humor," he said in his deep voice. "Now we have 27 different terms for various types of laughter. We are still not very good at jokes." He paused, looking at his notes. "But we are learning." To demonstrate, he told a joke that by human standards was terribly clumsy, but the effort itself earned warm applause from the audience. Dr. Alan Wright then took the stage. In the years since first contact, he had become the leading researcher on interspecies communication through humor. His team had developed translation algorithms specifically designed to preserve jokes across language barriers. "Our studies show something remarkable," Alan explained, showing charts on the large screen behind him. "In the 2 years since the creation of the interspecies humor exchange, diplomatic incidents between member species have decreased by over 300%. It seems that species who laugh together fight less." Kate Martinez joined him on stage. Her comedy broadcast had become legendary throughout Council space, with over 50 species regularly tuning in. "We've discovered that while specific jokes don't always translate, the concept of finding joy in the unexpected is universal," she said. "Even the Zologarians, who communicate entirely through scent, have developed their own form of humor involving unexpected smell combinations." Several Zologarians in the audience released pleased aromas that made nearby humans sneeze, but caused their fellow Zologarians to vibrate with their version of chuckles. Jack Peterson had prepared special dishes for the event, each designed to tickle the taste buds, and in some cases the humor centers of different species. He stood beside a massive table of food. "Food and laughter bring people together," he said simply. "Whether you have one mouth or 7, everyone deserves a good meal and a good laugh." The highlight of the ceremony came when Grand Counselor Vexalia approached the podium. The tall, elegant alien had once been among the strongest critics of human unpredictability. Now she stood before the assembled crowds to make a historic announcement. "The Galactic Council has voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership," she announced to thunderous applause. "Furthermore, we have created a new division, the Department of Cultural Humor Exchange, which will be headed by Ambassador Lisa Chen." Lisa stepped forward, looking surprised and touched by the honor. Vexalia continued, "In my 5,000 cycles of life, I never expected to say this, but..." She paused, clearly nervous. "I would like to tell a human joke." The room fell silent as the Grand Counselor attempted her joke. It was awkwardly delivered and the punchline didn't quite land, but the very attempt by the normally serious leader was remarkable. After a brief pause, the room erupted in genuine laughter and applause, not at the joke itself, but at the beautiful gesture it represented. Later that evening, as the formal ceremonies gave way to celebration, Lisa Chen found herself standing on a balcony overlooking the lights of the embassy grounds. Ambassador Zixtal joined her. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" he asked. Lisa shook her head. "When you landed that day, covered in cake frosting, I thought we'd be lucky if Earth wasn't immediately quarantined." The council had become too rigid, too serious, Zixtal said. "We had forgotten how to see the universe with wonder and joy." Humans reminded us. Inside the main hall, a massive multi-species comedy show was underway. Performers from 20 different worlds took turns attempting to make the diverse audience laugh. Some succeeded better than others, but the atmosphere was one of friendly experimentation rather than competition. Ambassador Gorvin stood watching with Captain Samantha Wells, who had become Earth's chief security liaison to the former Zoraxian Empire. "In our old culture, gatherings were for displaying strength and discipline," Gorvin observed. "No one would dare make a sound." "And now?" Samantha asked. "Now we understand that there is strength in being able to laugh at oneself," he replied. "It was a difficult lesson for a species as proud as mine, but a valuable one." President Johnson found Dr. Allen Wright by the refreshment table. "Your research made this possible," she told him. "Who would have thought that your awkward joke during first contact would lead to all this?" Allen smiled. "Sometimes the most important scientific breakthroughs happen by accident." As the evening continued, representatives from former enemy species shared drinks and stories. Old conflicts that had once seemed unsolvable were now discussed with the perspective that humor provided. The Laughter Accord, as it came to be known, was formally signed the next day. It established exchange programs for comedy and cultural humor studies between all member worlds. Earth, once considered a primitive newcomer to galactic society, was now recognized as the birthplace of a diplomatic revolution, and it had all started with a face full of cake frosting and a badly timed joke.